Time to pull up a chair and talk some Dynasty football. I am your host, JJ Wenner, and this is the Rider Dynasty podcast. The Rod Pod is back, and we are in our new home with Gridiron Ratings. Remember, your path to the title starts with Gridiron Ratings. Now, tonight, we're going to take a look at the top 5 teams that need a backfield help. Which teams can we expect to make a move, and what can they do to capitalize? Joining me, as always, is my friend, the social media Sasquatch, Big Daddy Don Detweiler. How are you doing, sir?
Dude, I'm great, man. This is the best time of year. It's time to kind of peek out from the cave, get going on all the things draft worthy. Mock draft is under construction, and the Eagles go and shuffle everything up already. So here we go. Things get cool.
Time to start over on the mock. I'm sorry, buddy. But Riders, I am excited to welcome back to the pod a man. You may know him as your go-to for all things DFS, whether through his Twitter account, maybe at Detroit Beastie, or through his work with at Team Rise or Fall. A member of the Fantasy Sports Writers of America, the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Robin. How are you doing, my brother?
It's great. Great to see you, boys. I mean, when we talk about this thing and even go back through the years, I mean, JJ, this broadcast, ride or die, no matter what station it goes, whatever the financial backers are, your broadcast might be one of the first top 3 broadcasts I've ever been on. I remember being in where I was in a kitchen. Remember, we went over that, and I remember I had that piece of paper, and it was you, me, and somebody else, and we were talking about the deepest of dives for football, and that was wild. Because I had really, I think I was using my phone, like as I did with all those early broadcasts.
Yes,
I used my phone. I used my headphones plugged in. I mean, I really had no idea what I was doing, aside from the technical, standpoint of things. But I've always been able to talk. I always, blow out hot air. So it's always great to be back on this one. And again, there's a lot to cover. There's NHL, DFS, baseball starts tomorrow. But meat and potatoes, we all know, is football, fantasy, dynasty, real life. It doesn't get much better than that. So, get to hang on a Wednesday afternoon, a Wednesday evening, 7:30 p.m. and talk football with you and Don here. It's pretty sweet. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we're always glad to have you. How are your hot puck and stacks going?
Oh, it's been outstanding. I mean, again, I'm not going to toot my own horn and say every night it's like I'm winning $1 million. I mean, everybody has, good nights or bad nights. But with hot pucking stacks, at least, I like to put people in a position that I think that they're going to win. I keep it really simple. I give 3 stacks, each guy from that line, like right now, the Red Wings first line or Calgary's first line, second line, and boom, that's it. Not a lot of bullshit, not a lot of nonsense. I'm not trying to tell folks what they want to hear, and come to find out, hot pucking stacks is good. It's better more nights than it's not. Of course, you have goose eggs or things don't go according to plan, but hey, I'm just the guy rating it, and people are taking it in droves, so I'm thankful for that. But hey, we all know that. People say that during the football season. You can only do so much. The players still have to play, and more times than not, the guys back me up here with my stack. So I'm looking forward to ending the season strong. I believe we're only 19 or 20 days away from the regular season, but as we were talking about before we went live, baseball starts tomorrow, so that opens up a whole nother can of worms with a daily show or a daily article here. So no rest for the wicked, but hey, when you enjoy something this much as DFS, it's like you wake up and that's where you get your action from broadcasting and writing. So I'm all about that action. I think Marshawn Lynch coined that phrase, if I'm not mistaken. All about that action, boss.
He coined a lot of phrases. I am always amazed, though, how you find the time to do everything. You still have a full-time job. You give everything with your heart. You do all these podcasts, and you still come up with great DFS content for every major sport. You're not, though, one of those crazy guys doing like the Chinese basketball league.
No, hell no. No, hell no. I was on a broadcast. I think it was with Fitz, the expert ranker from Fantasy Pros now, and he had somebody else on. I think it was with Julian at the True North podcast, and he had some guy on from RotoWire, and I apologize for not remembering the guy's name. He's the owner operator of RotoWire, and he was on the broadcast and goes, hey, Chris, I know you play DFS, and Fitz, I know you rank. If you know anybody that wants to get into cricket DFS, DFS, let me know. We're hiring folks at RotoWire. And I'm not kidding, boy, really quick. I said, you know what? Should I try my hand at cricket DFS? I'd get right in at RotoWire, but it's like, so it makes no sense. So no cricket, no European Basketball League, baseball, hockey, football, and that's about it. And my betting content at Woodward Sports, I'm thankful they've welcomed me in with open arms. So it's all a labor of love. That's the secret. Full-time job. I'm not married. No, if I was married and had kids, this probably wouldn't even be. I'd be in a coffin right now, not broadcasting with you guys. But it's a labor of love. So I can wake up, I go to work, I labor of love. I do my hockey, I do my baseball. And to be honest with you, Kelly knows this. Kelly and I have chatted as of late. We've become close. And I'm very routine regimented. If you would have told me 10, 15 years ago in college, in my early 20s, that you're going to wake up and you're going to keep to detailed notes with a strict routine, I would have said you're crazy. But here I am on the cusp of 38 years old, yet I live my life like I'm 80 with a routine. So here it is.
Hey, a routine makes everything go better. But now, before we dive into backfields, do me a favor, like and subscribe below. Give us a follow on Twitter at Gridiron Rating. And check out our website, gridironratings.com, for our latest content. Just finished editing the IDP rookie guide that's coming out shortly. Lots of good content. Well, gentlemen, let's jump right into the main topic. Now, all 32 teams have now had an opportunity to address their needs during the first round of free agency. Over the past two shows, Don and I have discussed each team's free agent moves and identified players we can target as dynasty managers. But now we begin to prepare for the draft. To do this, we have decided to have the crew over at Gridiron Ratings rank all 32 teams' quarterback and running back situations. Tonight, we're going to take a look at the bottom five in each of those two categories and discuss where we think they are going to go. Now, let's kick right off with the QBs. Team depth charts were listed. We ranked them from 1 to 5, with 1 being we have an amazing QB, nothing needed, to a 5, we have a poor starter and no options to replace them. Coming in at number 5, the 5th worst situation, I'm sorry, Don, they rated a 4.25. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Current starter, Mitch Trubisky. Backups, Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins. Currently, the Steelers have about $10 million in cap space, and they hold picks 20, 52, 84, 138, 208, and 225. Chris, do you think the Steelers are going to punt this year just to see what they have in Trubisky or Rudolph, or are they going to go QB in the draft?
No, you should have let Don go first because he is the Mr. Pittsburgh Steeler here. But personally, just a guy from the east side of Detroit here, the Pittsburgh Steelers will never punt. They go all in every season, and I respect the heck out of them. No ill will between me and the Pittsburgh Steelers here. But some people would say, well, adding Mitch Trubisky, isn't that like a foregone conclusion then they're going to punt the season? I just want to let folks know, I haven't been on a football broadcast since the regular season or the playoffs when we're talking DFS here. So everything I'm saying is just it's from my heart. I have no notes. And when you look at Mitch Trubisky, what I was getting at is people think, well, you add Mitch Trubisky, you're going to punt the season. I like Mitchell Trubisky. He went into a bad situation in Chicago where he was like expected to carry the weight of the franchise on his shoulders. Didn't they move up in the draft to grab Mitch? And it was just, not saying that it was too much for him, but people expected the world out of him and he wasn't able to deliver. Almost the same way as Daniel Jones in New York now. I feel like, what's his name for the Jets is around the same thing. These kids, they get put in a situation and boom, it's like over and done with. So Mitch backing up Allen in Buffalo, good move. I mean, he said, you know what? I want to stick around the NFL. He could have been a jerk and said, I want to split. I want a starting gig. And he would have been in the ground. But that 1 year of not rest and relaxation per se, but taking in what a winning franchise is about. And then boom, given the opportunity in Pittsburgh, I think Mitch is going to surprise some folks. I've always had a thing for him. He always absolutely murdered the Detroit Lions here. So to me, Mitch Trubisky in Pittsburgh is a good move. No way in hell they're punting the season. I think they should move up. They should move up quarterbacks. As crazy as it sounds, I would probably prefer Dwayne Haskins over Mason Rudolph. This kid stinks, but hey, he's got a job in the NFL and I don't. With Mitch, no punt for Pittsburgh. It's just not in their veins. It's just not in the Pittsburgh blood to do that.
Don, is this man from Detroit able to really read the Steel City's pulse?
Oh, dude, he's absolutely right. From my black and gold heart to yours, here it goes. It's going to be turbo time. You don't hand a guy a $25 million contract and say, oh, yeah, go over there and just hang out. That's just not how anybody does business, let alone the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are notorious for having a really good management system and a really good structure. He's going to come in. They rebuilt the offensive line. He's going to have weapons to work with. He's going to have a stable running game to work with. And it's a position of support that he's never truly had. Bear in mind that this dude was an extremely high draft pick coming out and was a sought-after prospect. I mean, the Bears traded up to get him. It's not like he was some undesirable guy. So there's opportunity here for him for sure. Mason and Haskins are just dudes. They're just there. Haskins was overdrafted, underprepared, and has never really learned how to maturely attack a defense. Mason, he's more mobile than Ben at this point, but he's still kind of a big arm guy, and he's just going to throw shots. Look, Ben
I'm
couldn't
more
get
mobile
around.
than Ben at this point.
Are you sure?
No.
Yeah. No, don't worry, dude. I'm in the same boat. But yeah, I really like what Turbo's going to bring to this. I really like the opportunity here because he's a mobile quarterback. They're going to try a lot of rollout stuff. That's all what Matt Canada did in college. And whenever he's run an offense, it's truly been his. Last year, they ran Ben's offense because it's Ben, and that's what you do when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback who really is not mobile and has a direct offensive line. Now there's talent, there's weapons. They should definitely consider passing on the quarterback class this year because I believe the top two are going to get selected ahead of them at 20. Moving up is cost prohibitive, and they have enough other stuff that they really need to accomplish with 20 and 52.
Well, gentlemen, I agree. Let's move on. Coming in at number 4, 4.63 rating, the New York Giants. Chris, you talked about it a little bit earlier. Current starter is Daniel Jones, backed up by Tyrod Taylor and Brian Lewerke. Ooh, Michigan State.
Yeah.
The Giants are currently, up against the cap. They have no wiggle room, but they have picks 5, 7, 36, 67, 81, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of firepower. Don, they're going QB at 5, right?
No, there's no chance to go quarterback right here. It's just not that class. There's not those guys. The two that are available should really, if they're going to be selected, should be selected in the teens. And to be perfectly honest, I really think they should see at least what they have in Jones before they go with one of these two questionable talents. Look, if it's next year, it's a totally different story. When you've got a Young or a CJ Stroud coming out and you can really believe in those guys are high pedigree guys, that's not their situation. They finally have worked on their offensive line. They're going to continue to do that a little bit more. They're going to kind of roll with the weapons they have and see what they have in a first-year coach. Because, I mean, you're never going to have more time as an organization as when you bring in a whole new front office, a whole new coaching staff. They're going to see what they've got. If it works out that they can salvage Jones, great. I mean, Jones has some of those things that you wanted out of a Josh Allen. He got the mobility. He can run around. He can make some creation with his legs. He doesn't have the arm strength, but he's at least a talent. So really, this should be an investigation to see what you got, because the two guys that would be available to them at the top, look, Kenny Pickett's nice, but he's nice. He's a game manager, kind of. That's how he profiles. And I think Willis is just a mechanistic nightmare and is going to require so much work. He's just a project, so you can't trot him out there year one anyway. So are they any better if they invest the capital? No. You're better off building. Get ready for next year if you have to go for a quarterback in a much deeper, much more talented class.
So do you think they should take a step back, maybe trade out of one of these spots to acquire more firepower next year when the QB crop is better?
I really like what the Eagles did in moving one of their picks into next year. If there's an opportunity for them to move one of their picks into next year, that's certainly something to investigate. But when you have two top 10 picks, you're probably better off investing that in the talent available than trying to punt into next year, because you never know who you're giving that pick to. I mean, you can project, but as we know in the NFL, all things are fluid.
All things are fluid. Chris, Kelly has a question going back to Pittsburgh. A big Pat Freiermuth. Trubisky's going to be they're going to be best friends, right?
Stud, absolutely. Pat was a bottom of the barrel all-star last year, and people just would not listen. I would talk, mention him in my notes, the photo in my notes, in my single game slates. They was in bottom of the barrel, I believe, 8 or 9 of the weeks in the NFL season. And not to go back to Pittsburgh and what Don was saying, but you put Mitch Trubisky, Najee Harris, they have a stud collection of wide receivers. Can Claypool kind of get out of his own way and step up and be a stud? Deontay Johnson, we know what he is, and then Pat Freiermuth. It's a dream situation for any quarterback, whether it's Daniel Jones. It just so happens it's Mitchell Trubisky here. So yeah, Mitch and Pat Freiermuth together will have a lot of points. That will be a point of emphasis as we move into next season, at least for me with my DFS. You want to do the full Pittsburgh stack, or you just want to slice it in half and go Mitch and Pat in the red zone, have at it. I see a lot of sparkles in that combination going into next year.
Yeah, I have to agree. Pat Freiermuth, I mean, if it wasn't for we all know Kyle Pitts sort of sucked all the energy out of that tight end draft. But Pat Freiermuth would have been the tight end 1 in every other year in the past decade. He is a fantastic player. Great hands. I loved what he showed as a rookie, and I can't wait to see what he shows moving forward with the new connection. All right. Next up, let's look at this. Number 3, the Seahawks. 4.88. None of us really believe in them. Current starter is Drew Lock with Jacob Eason as the only other QB on the roster. Now, yeah, cast off from 2 teams. That's not good. They have $9 million in cap space, according to overthecap.com. Picks 9, 40, and 41, 72, and 109. Now, Chris, despite the platitudes coming from Petey Sunshine, they can't go into the season with Drew friggin' Lock as their QB, right?
I think, well, yeah, they're going to. What other option do they have? I mean, like, as you said, they have pick 9, 40, and 41. Is realistically in anybody's mind, unless you're some dummy that are doing these mock drafts and posting your screenshot. Those are for entertainment purposes. Even someone like me, who might have the little bit of pull on social media, I don't even fool with that stuff. So to say that Seattle is going to go all in and take a quarterback 9, that would be an awful move. You just traded away Russell Wilson. You got you got some things for him, no big deal. But Seattle is nowhere close to a situation where you would pluck a quarterback from the draft at 9th overall, 40th or 41st at all. Maybe 72, maybe 109, but who knows what's going there. But 9th overall is not the place for Seattle to grab a quarterback. If I've seen anything the last few years in the NFL, normally way back when, just go back to the Lions drafted Stafford 1st overall, and they thought that was the time and place where you drafted a quarterback first and then you built around him and you build up your franchise that way. That's long gone. That's been over for a long time. When you look around at some of these teams, first and foremost, like Kansas City, their last piece of their puzzle was putting in Pat Mahomes, drafting him, or Dak Prescott in Dallas. They've had no results, but you get what I'm saying. So nowadays in this new age NFL, the quarterback is the last piece you pop in there, and then boom, that's when you tell folks we're ready to win now here. So Seattle at 9th overall, to be fair with you, I like what Don was saying. I was trying to incorporate that in this spot right here. You have to just take the best available player there within reason. If it's an offensive line, defensive line, who knows what it is. But Seattle at 9th overall, there's no way they're going to draft a quarterback here. I do think that there are some people on social media or at the water cooler at their office job that are saying, oh, they need a quarterback. All they need is a stud quarterback in the draft, 9th overall. You pair him with DK and boom, we're off and running. Seattle is basically kind of selling off pieces. They haven't said it yet, but aren't they just rebuilding and they just haven't said it yet? So quarterback 9th overall for Seattle, I think that would set them back, because if they miss on that pick, that's all bad. Then that Russell Wilson trade was all for nothing. And a franchise like Seattle, after everything Russ gave to them, they have to make good on what they got back from him. 9th overall, not a place for Seattle to draft a quarterback, in my opinion.
Fair enough.
Bring in the fire, man.
I love it. Open 24 hours asked back to Pittsburgh. Everybody likes Pittsburgh, Don. Can Mitch even hold off a rookie QB? I'll take this one. Of course he can. I think Mitch has the talent to hold off a rookie QB, especially these rookie QBs, regardless of who they bring in. He was under the fire with Nagy, right? He survived, thrown to the wolves. Not the best situation. He spent a year with Dable, and I think that's really going to help his growth. And now he's with Tomlin. I feel good about what Trubisky can show with the Steelers this year, at least more than any of the rookies. Have I heard about the rumors about the Lions potential trading their pick to Seattle? I have not heard that rumor, Kelly.
She must be drinking or making that up. I haven't heard that at all. And I mean, I'd like to think I'm plugged into the Lions organization. But jokes aside, I mean, if I'm a Lions fan, if I'm the Lions brass like Brad or Dan, I would go for that, because if the Lions give a second overall to Seattle for the 9th pick, you better believe that Seattle's going to throw in 40 or 41 as well. And as a team, the Lions, they're coming up. They're rebuild. Obviously, they have been for 57 years. But a guy like Brad Holmes, I trust him. I think he's a smart GM. And when you're in that position, you can use that second overall pick and get more picks. At this stage of the game, you just want bodies. And do you trust the people in the front office to pick the right bodies? And I absolutely trust Brad and Dan. So moving that pick to Seattle, I would do that 10 out of 10 times. We give them pick 2. They can take Malik Willis, whatever the heck they want to do. We get 9 and give me 40 as well. And then boom, you have how many high-end draft picks in back-to-back seasons. That's a recipe for success. This isn't a Lions broadcast, so I have to control myself. Yeah, if that was an option, Kelly, I think they would take it in a heartbeat.
Listen, every broadcast turns into a Jets podcast, so you can feel free to take a little the Detroit way. All right, let's jump to our next team. Oh, ooh. Tied. We have a tie with perfectly terrible perfect scores. Two teams from the NFC South, the Falcons and the Panthers, came in as the worst quarterback rooms. Let's start with Atlanta. Current starter Marcus Mariota, with Felipe Franks as the only backup. Now, they currently have no cap room. Matt Ryan has it all. And they have picks 8, 43, 58, 74, and 82 in the top 100. Don, are they going QB at 8?
They shouldn't, but that doesn't mean they won't. This is the first landing spot where I think there's a legit shot that you see a Kenny Pickett come off the board. I think Pickett's probably the case here. You could make a case that Willis might be the guy and that they're trying to recatch the next possibility at a Mike Vick type guy. He's got some of the athleticism. Look, no one's Mike Vick athletic. That's just not a thing. But he's got some of that mold. He's got some of the electric arm, and he's just as raw mechanically as Mike Vick was coming out. So there are some similarities there. They are so quarterback needy that in some ways it makes sense, but really the desperation is a stinky cologne, and boy, they reek. They got so many problems there that the quarterback isn't going to solve it. Their best situation is probably here to truly be bad and be in their own natural position next year to take the legit quarterback. Realistically, I think they probably go defensive line, maybe some pass rush here. One of the Georgia boys is where I'm really looking for Atlanta to go with the draft.
You know, going back to you, Chris, something you said earlier makes so much sense. Like the current state of the NFL, you don't start your rebuilding process by drafting a quarterback. That's the last step you have to take.
Not anymore, at least, yeah.
You only have 4 to 5 years of that quarterback being on their rookie contract where you can really have a dominant team built around them. Where do you think Atlanta will go quarterback in this draft?
To be honest with you, I have no idea. Everything, I did little to no notes for this broadcast because I think it's more authentic. It's genuine when your feet to the fire and you go. But I did look back through some no name, kind of like mock drafts here. And a lot of folks loved that they would take Drake London here from USC. To me, that makes no sense. I mean, in a way, Drake London is outstanding, but it makes no sense here. So realistically, in a way, I'm not plugged into Atlanta or Art, whatever the heck his name is, who owns Home Depot and all that. But to me, if you went out of your way to grab Marcus Mariota, they must think that he can maybe bridge the gap, kind of in the same same way that Jared Goff can bridge the gap for the Lions last season, this coming season, and boom, you pluck your quarterback in 2023. So adding Marcus Mariota, I think all but sures up that they're not going to draft a quarterback. Is that good? Is that bad? Not for me to decide. I like Marcus Mariota, but I did, while Don was talking in my notes, Mariota is a great quarterback for punt plays in DFS. He's not a guy you want running your franchise, although Tennessee seemingly made that mistake, but they're no worse for the wear here. So to me, Atlanta, could they just go nuts? Could they be like the new, remember the Lions would draft a wide receiver in the first round, like 4 out of 5 drafts. If Atlanta takes Drake London, again, that's only going to set them back. Is it the right move to sell tickets and to put fans in the seats? Sure. What are they going to do? Build Mariota to Drake London here? Sure, but that's not going to do anything realistically for football purposes here. So 9th overall, as Don said, the Falcons have a lot of work ahead of them, and we're talking a few seasons on tap before anything, before they move along in the right direction. That's a very tough division. Tom Brady's in there. The Saints, they're going to rebuild quickly. The Panthers, who I know we'll get to next, they don't have much going on. Sam Darnold's, I don't know here, but Atlanta at 9th overall, they better think long and hard. And when you get on the clock, even right now, they're already thinking they don't have the time. They don't have the luxury of time at 9 to go, it's between 3 or 4 people. You need to make a decision right now and go all in on whoever you're going to take at 9, because that hemming and hawing, are we going to take a tackle? Are we going to take a safety? Are we going to take a wide receiver? That's not wise in my eyes. But hey, I'm home in my basement broadcasting, and that's a professional franchise. So Falcons at 9, who the heck knows? I like what Don said. Could be Kenny Pickett.
You're absolutely right. And they have a history of having an owner who's a bit of a meddler in the draft process and in the whole really personnel situation here. And with Calvin Ridley being unavailable to them this year, they've got Pitts and nothing. But London doesn't make any sense because him and Pitts are the same guy. They do the same thing, whether you want to say it or not. They're both huge wide receivers. A Garrett Wilson type would make a lot more sense if they want to go that way. But you're right. That's for them to decide. You don't want to have matching skill sets in your guys. So a Wilson would make more sense there. But you're right. I've seen the same things with London going there too. I mean, it's Atlanta. There's a reason they are where they are.
Yeah, I've done that a million times in my fantasy leagues. I got A.J. Brown, J.J. Jefferson, Jamar Chase. It's like they're all really good. You could probably win a lot of games, but in a way, you got too many cooks in the kitchen. So you have Pitts, you have Mariota. It wouldn't make any sense to draft Drake London or one of these big wide receivers, but that's probably what they'll do because as it stands now, they really have no identity after getting rid of Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, as you put it, J.J., took all the cap space there. But I could see Atlanta being, a little bit not apprehensive per se, but being a little bit bullish and not ever calling it a rebuild. We're going to draft a wide receiver 9th overall, and boom, we're retooled and we're going, and they're just going to languish in just nonsense for the next 5 or 6 years. So they got to get it right here soon.
It always amazes me when you see a team who's had an entrenched quarterback for so many years performing at a high level. When they leave, the teams that can transition seamlessly always amaze me, right? Because, the Patriots did it, but the Patriots are the Patriots. They found Mac Jones. Mac Jones seemingly is much better than we all thought he would be. But, you hope. Steelers, Atlanta, Ben Roethlisberger, Matt Ryan, 2 leaders who had been with that franchise forever. So it'll be interesting to see what each of those 2 teams does next. Now, one team who has not had a long-running quarterback in place, the Carolina Panthers, tied for worst, first, not sure which to call it. Current starter is Sam Darnold. The Jets did get draft picks for him. Thank you very much. And PJ Walker is the only backup. The team has about $25 million in effective cap space, according to overthecap.com. And they have 6 and nothing until 137, 144, and 149. So there is a whole lot of nothing to fill in their needs. Now, I don't know what to do with this team, and especially assets like DJ Moore, CMC. But Chris, are you seeing any hope that either of those signal callers will appear on any of your recommendations this season?
I doubt it. If we rewind back, let me look something up real quick. If we look back just a year, everybody was, Sam Darnold, he's a good sleeper. He left. He's in Carolina now, and he crapped the bed. And boom, here we are again in that same old squirrel cage. We know what that is. The hamsters running on the wheel in our heads here. And when you look at them at, what did you say, sixth overall. Yeah, when you look at that one here, I think, they have $25 million in cap space. They have 6th overall, and then they can kind of dig in, get their hands dirty in the 140s here. I think the best move for Carolina to make long term is to sell off CMC. I mean, right? I mean, if in my head, I run my things like a fantasy football team. I'm not an NFL owner, GM, none of that, to my surprise here. But when you look at it, you could really get something going in Carolina if you got rid of Christian McCaffrey for draft picks. God only knows what you would get for that, because in my mind, in fantasy, you would get like a top 5 pick, top 10 pick. That ain't happening in the real, regular, everyday draft. But if you can get together, maybe 2 second rounds and a third, 2 seconds and a third next year, boom, you put those in the spot. You have 6, you have 2 second rounds, a third, and then boom, in the 140s here. And then with that $25 million in cap space, you might be headed in the right direction here, because again, we all love Christian McCaffrey. No ill will here. The guy's a talent, but now we have a history here with injuries and being made of glass. Not my words, everybody else's here. So to me, I think the best move to make is get rid of McCaffrey, and then seriously, a lot of folks, I've seen it a million times, Kenny Pickett, boom, right there, right for the taking. You want to take him, you're going to pass up on Coral or Howell or what's his name at number 2 here, Malik Willis. So it's all up to Carolina here. And they're not an awful team. They're not. I don't look at them as the Jets. Sorry, JJ. I don't look at them as even Atlanta here. Carolina, they kind of just hang in neutral here. 500, maybe a game or two below, but they're never just widely embarrassed. But they're never really good here. So to me, that just means that they've been stuck in purgatory, and what they're doing has not worked. So you have to get out of your comfort zone. Get rid of McCaffrey. Everybody's going to hate you in Carolina for doing that. But are you going to be better off next season or even this season after doing that? So to me, Carolina absolutely takes a chance at number 6 at a quarterback, and then they kind of, mix and match in the 140s if they don't use that $25 million, if they don't trade Christian McCaffrey here. So the Carolina, as shocking as it sounds, one of the more exciting one of the more exciting stories to see what they do in the draft and with Christian McCaffrey. He's a major chip. Let's just talk about it.
Yeah, now with all the teams that we've talked about needing quarterback, is this a landing spot where we could see Baker Mayfield land? I mean, they've already said that he's not going to go for a high draft pick if somebody trades for him. I mean, yeah, Matt Rule has to be on his last legs with the Panthers. He has swung and missed for 3 years straight, brought in Joe Brady. Joe Brady fizzled out under him. I mean, he's not having a good track record. So no. He has to be on the hot seat right now. So absolutely. I don't know if he can hope to draft and get some production back. I think he needs somebody to come in and who can put up some numbers. I don't know.
Look, if this is a stable situation, they're drafting a left tackle here in an excellent top of the left tackle draft, and they're reestablishing the offensive line that is already quite weak and really some of the genesis of their problems. Darnold couldn't set his feet and throw. That's what he does. He sets his feet and delivers. If you can't do that, there's little hope. So unless they repair that offensive line, which they really didn't really touch in free agency, there's trouble here. Now, does it make sense for them to go quarterback? If they do, it's got to be Pickett. Matt Rule was at every single top 5 quarterback pro day. But let's keep this in perspective here. The best 2, Willis and Pickett, would come in right at 6 in last year's draft, behind Mac Jones, who was the 5th first-round quarterback. So we're not talking like a loaded class here.
I look at really quick, if I may, JJ, you mentioned Baker Mayfield really quick. And again, we're just dudes with families, full-time jobs. We do this for fun here. We're not really plugged into the scene of the NFL. We don't have sources. That's what I was getting at, where someone could shoot you a text or call you and go, this is what we're hearing about Baker Mayfield. But truth be told, I don't think anybody has heard anything out of or for Baker Mayfield. This dude is like nuclear right now. I'm not going to use the C word cancer because it's not like that as of yet here. But Baker Mayfield, I don't know what he's done or lack thereof of what he's not done, but teams, they have nobody wants Baker Mayfield. And is it sad in a way? Sure, but this is real life. life. He's adult. We're adults here. But I don't think Baker Mayfield is the answer for any NFL team, let alone the Carolina Panthers. And I wrote down a note while you were talking. Would make a good tweet. I'll just say it here. I don't think Baker Mayfield is a starting quarterback in this coming season on any team. He's just going to toil away somewhere and just fizzle out. And that's it. And that's a shame, but it is what it is.
See, my feel of the whole thing is that the Browns can't let him go until the supplemental discipline for whatever happens to Watson is released, because they got to have somebody to throw the ball there. They have to. And if that has to be Baker, then they don't care. He's already requested a trade, and they've already flatly denied it.
Yeah. Because they got a initial. I'm not going to get into the Deshaun Watson thing in Cleveland and you know what Watson did and who he hurt people and even strangers that we don't even know by his actions here. But you're right, they have to hold on to Baker Mayfield just in case. And to me, it's already a shitty, you know, no respect kind of situation that Cleveland brings in Watson, and then they're going to hold Baker Mayfield, who stinks just as bad. They're going to hold him hostage while he doesn't like them, they don't like him, but they're holding him just in case that their star quarterback they just grabbed isn't suspended for assaulting people. So Cleveland they were good for like 2 weeks, like a season ago, and they're back to dog shit in my eyes. I mean, I just can't respect any sort of men, women, or anything that kind of harbor players or people like this. I mean, I'm a big high character guy. Watson's got none. Baker seems to be kind of like a crybaby, as Kelly said in the comments here. So Cleveland, they're back to dog crap in my mind, even though they really never got out of the dog crap doghouse, however you want to put it.
Unless you asked the Cleveland fan last year, they would have told you they're the best team in the NFL. But I agree with you wholeheartedly, Chris. I want nothing to do with that. I don't think Baker is going to get a shot. And I don't know how he could. Like, I don't even know as a person, though, once a team says they don't want you, now they're holding on to you. And if Deshaun doesn't play, it would take an immense amount of humility for him to start a game for the Browns again.
Which I don't think he has any. He doesn't have, he's not humble. He's not, I don't know if he's grateful or not grateful. I mean, being humble, grateful, and keeping an open mind are ways I live my life. But again, I'm not Baker Mayfield. And when you look at him, he seems to me like everything's just been given to him, been handed to him. He was a stud in college for a season or two with Oklahoma, goes into the NFL, and he took that moniker of Cleveland hasn't won in 100 years, and Baker, you're our savior. And he kind of really created a persona around that, and boom, here we are. So he might at home with his wife or while he's filming those commercials, he may be bummed out and embarrassed, but he doesn't have the humility to just come out and say that I was wrong. That's all he's got to say. I was wrong. But in a way, he might have a little smidge of narcissism. Who knows? He's not a client of my therapy services, but to me, Baker Mayfield will not be a starting quarterback this coming season. And if and when Watson is not able to play, who the heck knows what goes on over there. It's I'm good.
I agree. Well, gentlemen, that was the quarterbacks. Now we have to still talk about the running backs. But let's take a look. We did the same thing. Teams are ranked 1 to 5. 1, amazing starter, solid backups. 5, everybody stinks. Burn down the room, start from scratch. We started with a 3-way tie for 4th place with the Dolphins, Cardinals, and Bills. Starting with the Bills, we have Devin Singletary, backed up by Duke Johnson, Zach Moss, and Tywan Jones. They're about $5 million over the cap. They have picks 25, 57, and 89. Chris, are you satisfied with that running back room heading into this season?
No, not necessarily, but hey, crazier things have happened, right, in the NFL. When you look at, like J.D. McKissick came out of nowhere. He was good. So there's always something to be said here when it comes to a running back. People might rake me over the coals for saying this here, but I don't necessarily think you need an all-pro stud running back to have success in the NFL. Look at at Kansas City. They really had nothing going, and they made D. Williams a stud in the playoffs. He split, and he's a nobody. They bring in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and the running back position just isn't that big of a positional need for a team like that. So crazier things have happened, and we shall see. Is it the quarterback room I would want it for my Detroit Lions? No, but hey, I've seen and done worse in my life than this running back kind of collection of guys.
Yeah, I kind of like how Devin Singletary has kind of turned it on over the past season, especially down the stretch. I know I was a Zach Moss fan. I know Detweiler, you were too. He seems to have fallen out of favor, but Duke Johnson was everybody's favorite scat back for a while, like third down receiving back. What do you think about this room?
I mean, there's a little bit of potential, but really the best running back on the team isn't even listed in this, and it's Allen. He keeps the ball in the high leverage situations, and he runs the ball as much or more than the combined touches of everybody else. So it's one of those deals where unless they're catching passes, there's a real question as to how much value they're going to get, because even the goal line carries, they go to Allen.
It is tough when you have a running back, quarterback like that who is going to suck up those carries. Tied with them, Miami Dolphins. Now, Miami Dolphins, I believe, have every single running back who was a free agent. They have Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, Myles Gaskin, Savon Ahmed, and Jared Dokes. They have about $13 million in cap space, but they have no draft picks. Now, Don, this room interests me a little bit, only because it looks like one of my rosters that I'm rebuilding in Dynasty, right? Because it all has all the second tier running backs on a bunch of different teams. Any hope for a breakout if one of these guys can be healthy?
Oh, dude, let's call this the Band-Aid squad first and foremost. But I really like Edmonds here. I think there's a lot of potential. He's just going to step right into that 1B role he had, the same deal as Arizona. They're nuts if they try to do anything else with him. He's going to have like a 16-ish touches a game if he's lucky, and trying to maximize that, he's the best value because he's going to catch the most passes.
That's fair. Chris?
Yeah, it's like a process of elimination. They got three or four quarterbacks. I won't even mention the last one here, but it's Chase, Gaskin, and as you said, Mostert. It's process of elimination. We grabbed three guys, and we only need one of them to stay healthy and play. And so you got three guys. You do the math. It's like 33.3% a running back. I would take those odds if I was gambling or playing roulette or something like that. So to me, you can't really put a pulse or put my finger on which one it's going to be. I'd like it to be Mostert. The dude is like he's like a speedster. He's as fast as a car. Let's be honest here. Gaskin, he was great. Gaskin is better suited for DFS formats, and I'm trying to implement that phrase in a lot of what I'm doing here. People go over the moon for Myles Gaskins in seasonal formats because they don't understand he's probably better suited for DFS in a punt play in a pinch week to week where you don't have to use him day in and day out week to week in a seasonal format here. I've always been a fan of Chase Edmonds. He bounced around, if I'm not mistaken, Arizona. Then he went to the Raiders, if I remember correctly, and boom, now he's with Miami. And to be fair, Tua, no more excuses. You have Tyreek Hill now. That offense is pretty good now on the skill positions here. So to be honest with you, do we see a chance here where the same thing like Buffalo or Kansas City, where a running back, it's just a guy, right? It's a jag, as people say, just a guy, not that important to our everyday kind of formations and what we do on the field here, but whoever's in there, folks are going to flock to him because Tua broke out and Cheetah's going nuts here. So whoever is behind, Tua and that offensive line will have value. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, you have to think about them. I mean, with the McDaniel connection to San Francisco, they're just accumulating backs. I mean, San Francisco has a bunch of injury-prone backs, but they just wait for one to stay healthy. And that's the guy who gets the touches. So hopefully one of these guys, as you said, DFS would be a much better pick because you can pick who's healthy for that week. All right, fourth place. Last one who tied, the Arizona Cardinals, former home of Chase Edmonds. They returned James Conner, Eno Benjamin, Jonathan Ward, and Jalen Samuels. Only about 2.7 in cap space. And they have picks 23, 55, and 87. Now, Chris, Connor had a stellar year sucking up all the TVs in Arizona last year. Can we expect him to maybe keep the lead role and have like 250 or more touches?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, it's all there it's all his for the taking, as I should say. And again, a very likable guy. We know his history. He played at college in Pittsburgh. He was drafted by the Steelers. He beat cancer. I mean, this guy is just brimming with hope, not only hope, but just good vibes and good attitudes. And he's one of those guys where whatever team he goes to or whatever offense he's in, I'm always going to root for the guy. And as you said, you used the word stellar. This guy was not, I don't want to say a surprise or a treat because we all expected him to do what he did, but it took him a little while to get rolling. I believe he dealt with some soft tissue, lower body injuries, at the beginning of the season and then halfway through the season, and the guy toughed it out there at the end. And if I'm call me crazy, but Arizona, didn't they start 8-0 and Kyler was in, or maybe even 9 or 10-0, and Kyler was in the MVP talk, and then he just took a big crap here, and then that's around the time James Conner sat out a few games. He had to, rehab his legs and his ankles, something like that here, and then boom, he came on strong. He was a DFS darling late in the season here, but to me, I love everything about Conner. To me, if we're talking seasonal dynasty football here, it's all about value. Am I going to take Conner at a first round asking price? Absolutely not. Second round, it's a little iffy, but then if you wait to the third round, Connor's already gone. So it's personal preference where you feel comfortable taking him and or what you have else around your team here. So Eno Benjamin, nice little sleeper. I've been on him for a few seasons. He's kind of screwed me every time I put him in bottom of the barrel, but hey, I'm willing to go back to that well again. Ward and even Samuels, nothing going on. Don, you're probably a very well, Jalen Samuels, he backed up, Pittsburgh running backs for a long time. But to me, I love James Conner in an offense that it's literally not ride or die for Kyler Murray and the Arizona. It's do or die for Kyler because the birds are already out that he's a jerk and he's getting $80 million a season. So if he doesn't put it together, put a full season together for Arizona, I don't want to be anywhere around Arizona or him if that's the case.
Don, as a former Conner-holic, how are you feeling about James Conner?
Dude, he can't be a 1. He's just not. The legs will fall off, and that's it. And he'll miss 4 or 5 weeks with the broken. But he can be a 1A, 1B guy. And if you're watching the real draft, you should be really paying attention to this second round pick because I really think they're going to get their 1B back to go with him. I'm looking more at like a Zamir Cook type who can replace the Edmonds role. Neither Samuels nor really Ward are that guy. Had the opportunity to be that guy, but he hasn't developed into it. But I think that's really what they're looking for, is they're looking for the Lightning to go with the Thunder. He's still going to get the goal line touches. He's still going to be a touchdown machine because that offense is still going to continue to hum, and he's going to get the high leverage touches because Kyler Murray doesn't keep it the way Allen does. They're happy to give it to the big back, and he's an excellent short yardage back and a dynamite goal line back.
All right, well, our third place team was also third place in the QB segment, the Seattle Seahawks. Now, the names are the same, but it just feels a little different in their room. Current starter is either Chris Carson or Rashad Penny. DJ Dallas, Travis Homer, Josh Johnson, Darwin Thompson are the backups. They have $9 million in cap space. They have picks 9, 40, and 41, and 72. Now, we think they're not going QB at 9. Do we think they take a running back? I mean, Chris Carson isn't going to play again. Is he done? Oh, got you mid-drink. I'm sorry.
Dude, who knows?
Oh.
Who knows? It's entirely possible he does. Who knows? Because Pete Carroll is going to give him every opportunity. Should he have every opportunity? No, he should be done. It's time to hang him up and say goodbye. But it's Pete Carroll. He'll let him trot out there on one leg and keep it going because that's just...
Yeah, it's his neck, though. I'm worried about his neck.
Oh, dude. If he gets medically cleared, they'll let him play. That's the meat grinder that is the league. Should they be looking to draft a running back? Absolutely. This is with their second round pick that's going to be rather high. They should be looking in the Kenneth Walker region. And I feel like that would be an excellent fit for what they like to do stylistically. Now, will that happen? They can hope. Walker is probably the second back to go behind Breece Hall. Hopefully you can get him at that price point in that value area. But, I mean, who knows? They need talent infusion to that room. I mean, Penny, you can't trust. He hasn't been able to stay healthy. And Carson, yeah, I'm with you, JJ. With that neck, I wouldn't go back to the field. He's made his buck as far as I know. But, I'm not in his books, so I don't know how much he was able to keep.
Yeah, now, Chris, I'm not going to fall for the Kenyon Drake trap where a guy has a couple good games at the end of the year and I magically forget everything that's ever happened before. But are we doing that with Rashad Penny? Everybody who's in on Penny now. Did we forget who he is? Oh, you're on mute, buddy.
Well, sorry. I said, truth be told, I'll give you two sides of the story. I'll give you my personal opinion, and I'll give you what I've seen other folks say. Everybody it loves Penny, first round pick. We were overdrafting him, stashing him. How many flipping articles did we all write on just Rashard Penny? How many articles was Penny mentioned in the sleeper articles? I mean, it goes on and on here. But Rashard Penny, first round selection, as I said, years and years, and finally flashed a little bit at the end of last season. If this guy plays well, in the 2022 season and actually establishes himself as Seattle's RB1, it's going to just be haywire on social media or anybody that writes content, because then again, we got to give a first round running back 4 or 5 years before we determine that they stink, because everybody's going to go, well, Kenneth Walker was drafted last year by whoever, Carolina, even Seattle, and he didn't do much. But if you remember, Rashad Penny broke out after 4 or 5 years. That's what I think other people are going to say. That's what I think other people are going to do. To me, I want nothing to do with the Seattle Seahawks from start to finish, not even DK Metcalf. So when you look at the running backs here, there's not too much left to do. I've always been a big Chris Carson guy. I'm with you. The guy should hang it up. I love what you said. I'm not in his books. I'm going to use that term as often, whenever the opportunity presents itself, Don. I'm going to use that in my fantasy life and real life. But when you look at Penny, Carson, DJ, Dallas, Homer, DJ and Homer, they're absolutely outstanding, beautiful, gorgeous kind of DFS plays on a single game slate. Other than that, in seasonal dynasty, 10-team redraft leagues, not even mentioned here. So to me, Penny, Carson, if you're making me choose, I would go Penny here, but I don't like it. I don't like that we might have to hear about Penny and his 5-6 year breakout for a long time.
I ain't got time to wait 5 years for a running back. I'm old. I just celebrated another birthday, man. I don't have that many spins around the
yeah, I'll be 40. In 5 years, I'll be over 40, and people will still mark this. If we could revisit this, April 6th in 2027, we'll get back together and we'll see how often people mention Penny if he breaks out.
Kelly agrees. She says, not even DK in Seattle. I'm with you with that, Kelly. All right, second place, second worst running back room, the Atlanta Falcons. Cordarrelle Patterson is their starter. Mike Davis, Damian Williams, the aforementioned Damian Williams, Quadri Olison, and Caleb Huntley are the backups. Now, they currently, have no cap room. Picks 8, 43, 58, 74, and 82 are their under 100 picks. Now, Chris, I think the team's going to be in a tanking position. Not that they're going to tank. I don't think any NFL team actually tanks. They just don't play well because they have no players. But are these backs good enough to get them through this year?
Without a doubt, absolutely. When you look at all three of them, Cordarrelle Patterson, now we're talking about a pleasant surprise. I mean, this guy's listed on their depth chart as a running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and people were shocked when he was listed as like the third or fourth string safety. I mean, this guy is great. You watch videos of him. He's very kind, has a ton of manners. Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Things like that. I just love that about anybody, let alone a professional football player here. So Cordarrelle Patterson is a good move in season drafts. You want to draft him, he could, slot in as a flex position. Sometimes we've seen an RB2, and 1 or 2 times out of the season, he was an RB1, if I'm not mistaken. When you get to Mike Davis, I mean, I feel, can we play the taps when at a funeral? I mean, this guy went from, oh my God, this is going to be great, to just absolutely disappearing. I mean, it was bad news for Mike Davis. I don't trust him a lick. I never have, never will. He's never been on any of my teams. I don't even think I've ever used him in DFS, although I mentioned him in bottom of the barrel a few times, and he burned me. Never again. I mean, he's burned me across the board. Any format you can think of, he's burned me. So there's just no reason to go back to that. And D-Will, absolutely. He could be the RB2 on that team. I mean, but you got to look at what else you have on there if you're considered an RB2 here. So to me, I think these three guys are good enough to keep them rolling, or not rolling, but get that the end of the game, make it across the finish line at the end of the season.
you get them to where they want to be, which is picking early in next year's draft so they can get the franchise QB they need. Now, gentlemen, coming in dead last, there were absolutely no disagreements across. We had 8 different people rank these. The Houston Texans, their current running back room is as follows: Marlon Mack, Rex Burkhead, Dare Ongabawale, Royce Freeman, Scotty Phillips, and Adarius Anderson. They have about $10 million in effective cap space, according to overthecap.com. They have a lot of picks: 3, 13, 37, 68, and 80. Don, do they just go position by position in this draft and rebuild, like just stock every position and need they have?
Look, that's absolutely what they should do, and running back should be one of the last things you acquire. However, at 37, I think being in Texas and having to try and get some other market share, I think Breece Hall makes a lot of sense for them at 37. They have nobody that can do anything. He's the closest thing that this draft has to offer to a bell cow, and will get you some relief on a quarterback at Davis Mills, who are trying to find out if he can be your guy. Now, there's like a 20% chance that he is the dude, but he's dirt cheap. He was a low-round draft pick for them, so fiscally, God, you hope he could be your guy. Just from a salary cap and roster construction standpoint, that'd be amazing for them. So at like a 37, a Breece Hall kind of makes some sense to help support that young guy growing. Their offensive line isn't that bad and can actually get a little better if they take 3 and invest it in like a Leal or an Ikonwu from NC State. You really got something going there on the offensive line, and they could get a bunch of maulers and actually kind of make themselves somewhat sort of kind of respectable and grind games to keep themselves in it so it's not so ugly. But realistically, their best situation here is to continue to keep those high draft picks coming in.
Chris, gun to your head, you have to pick one of these guys for week 1 DFS.
Rex Burkhead, without a doubt. I mean, he made me so first of all, he made me so happy. Second of all, he made me seem like a genius when all I did was write his name and do a little blurb with his price tags in bottom of the barrel. There was a stretch of games last year. I believe it was probably, correct me if I'm wrong, just off the top of my head. I'm thinking like anywhere after week 12 or week 13, he came game, in one of those weeks when he was mentioned in bottom of the barrel. And that's the kind of stuff that makes me personally feel good. Like what I'm doing is all worth it when you get the message and say, Chris, you're a dummy. I hate listening to you talk. You talk, but you never really say anything. But you told me to play Rex Burkhead in DFS formats this week, and he went nuts. 40 plus points with 3 touchdowns here. So of the 3, it's Rex Burkhead. And when you look at Marlon Mack, people, very briefly, I believe it was at the end of last week and through the weekend, oh my God, Marlon Mack is out of that situation, and he can be a stud. We know what he did, over 1,000 yards. Then he tore up his knee. Boom, they drafted Jonathan Taylor, and that's it. Lights out for Marlon Mack. But now in Houston, everything Don said is exactly how I was going to word it. Just build up, build up, build up, and the last thing you want to worry about is a running back. So we shall see. The one thing I want to mention, I know we're not talking about quarterbacks here, but I'm Davis Mills is in a lot of my notes here that I've been taking since last season. We'll see what this kid's about, in this coming season. I'm excited for that. So we'll see. Yeah, as you put it, Don, Houston can make games respectable. They can be respected here. And if they have a really good draft, if they draft lights out, they'll do a little damage. Nothing crazy, but you get what I'm getting at.
So, betting question. How many of the 6 backs that I mentioned do you think are on the roster opening day?
Of what, Atlanta and Houston?
Just the current guys down in Houston.
Oh, I think it would be easier to tell you which 3 will be on the roster. That's okay. Mac, probably Rex, and you said Freeman and that Obagawe guy, yeah. I think his name from. Right. I would say Obagare, Rex, and Mac. Freeman's gone, and I don't even know who the heck you mentioned after that here. So to me, Mac, Rex, and Ogumbleye. Excuse me, I keep chopping up his name.
Better than I could say it. Don, how many do you think?
I think 3 of these guys with a rookie.
Interesting. I'm going to say 2 of them because I think they're going to bring in a rookie and probably cut some of that dead wood they have. Well, gentlemen, we made it to the finish line. It is time for tags, where we tell the riders where they can find us and any final thoughts that we have. First thing I want to say, though, is thank you to Chris for joining us tonight. You can follow him on Twitter at Detroit Beastie. Chris, share any final thoughts you have and any projects you are working on.
Sure. Well, projects are projects. NHL DFS still going strong. Look for Hot Puck tomorrow, and my a little 4 or 5 minute MLB DFS video out tomorrow, which will be. I call me crazy. My hair is on fire, even though I don't have any. Last time I looked, JJ and Don, there are 162 total baseball games. So if all goes well, there will be 162 beastie DFS videos in the morning, afternoon, however I get around to it. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm looking at. And briefly, some final thoughts. What's sticking in my mind from our time together here was when we talked about Baker Mayfield being maybe a narcissist or not being humble. I gotta tell you, I was absolutely like that. I was a jerk. I wasn't a good guy, 10 plus years ago. And after some willingness to get better, open-mindedness to listen to folks, and a little bit of humility, I kind of turned this thing around. I turned the ship around, and boom, here we are now. So a little bit of humility goes a long way. Same with gratitude. You will not know how much it can affect you and others around you just by saying thank you, just by being grateful. Thank you for what you have, because again, it can always be worse. You could be laying under an overpass bridge sleeping at night. You could be in your car at a shelter. So be grateful and thankful for what you have. And again, fantasy football, DFS, it's all entertainment. It's all for fun. So if this is the worst we have to worry about, JJ and Don, is getting together on a Wednesday night to talk sports, I think we have it pretty dang good.
We're pretty blessed, if I do have to agree myself. Don, any final thoughts?
It's so true, man. Hey, this is the time of year where you really need to be honest with yourself about what your intentions are for your rosters this year. Get a good look at things, decide whether you need to be selling to acquire assets or whether you need to be ready to stock up on just those final tweaks, and whether you're ready to move draft picks or try to bring them in as quickly as possible. Be real with yourself, get a plan, and don't just try to wade your way through, because that's the fastest road to purgatory.
Thank you to both Don and Chris for joining me tonight. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Kelly and Open 24 Hours. There were a bunch of you in the comments that really meant a lot to us. You can find me on Twitter at JJ Wenner. Tune in tomorrow for the latest Getting Defensive episode with Brandon Gary and yours truly, where we finish our IDP free agency series. And from all of us to all of you, be safe, be well, and remember, never say anything to make a meeting longer or cut a happy hour short. Boat drinks, my friends. Boat drinks.